When a black waitress serves Big Shack at a small diner, she expects it to be just another exhausting shift. But as she clears his table, she notices a note scribbled on the check. Her hands tremble as she reads it, and moments later, tears stream down her face. What could he have written that changed everything? You won't believe the incredible twist that follows. The clatter of plates and the hum of conversation filled the small diner on a rainy Tuesday night. Behind the counter, Emma adjusted her apron and tied her frizzy ponytail for the third time that hour. It had been a long day, and she still had 2 hours left on her shift. "Table 4's asking for coffee refills," her coworker called out. Emma nodded, forcing a tired smile. She grabbed the coffee pot and made her way to the table, careful not to spill. Balancing trays and keeping smiles intact had become second nature to her, but tonight felt especially heavy. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from her younger brother, Lucas. She'd read it later, but she knew what it would say. Their mother needed more medication, and the insurance wasn't covering it. Emma swallowed the lump in her throat, reminding herself to keep it together. The bell above the door jingled, and the room seemed to pause. Heads turned toward the entrance, and in walked a man so tall and broad he had to duck slightly to enter. Big Shack. Emma froze for a moment. He was larger than life, both literally and figuratively. The basketball star turned entertainer had millions of fans worldwide. But here he was, in her tiny diner. "Emma," her manager hissed, "that's your table." Heart pounding, Emma grabbed her notepad and made her way to his table. She couldn't remember the last time a celebrity had walked in, let alone one as famous as Big Shack. "Good evening," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "What can I get for you?" Big Shack looked up, his expression kind but serious. "Hey there. What's your name?" "Emma," she replied, startled by his friendly tone. "Nice to meet you, Emma. I'll just have the special and a water, please," he said, smiling warmly. She jotted down his order and hurried back to the kitchen. As she waited for his food, she overheard 2 coworkers whispering by the coffee station. "She's working doubles again? I heard her mom's sick," one said. "Yeah, and her brother's too young to help. She's basically holding her whole family together," the other added. Emma's face burned with shame. She hated being the subject of pity, especially when all she wanted was to make it through another shift unnoticed. With the tray in her hands, she delivered Big Shack's food, her smile wavering. "Here you go. Let me know if you need anything else." "Thanks, Emma," he said, giving her a look that made her feel seen in a way she couldn't explain. As she walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen, something that would change everything. Emma couldn't help but glance at Big Shack's table every now and then. He seemed relaxed, almost blending in with the chatter of the diner, though his sheer presence kept drawing curious stares from the other customers. He ate slowly, occasionally looking out the window at the rain tapping against the glass. As she cleared the empty plates from a nearby table, Emma felt a tap on her shoulder. It was her manager. "Table 8 is asking for dessert," he said before lowering his voice. "And don't forget to check on Mr. O'Neill. Make sure he's happy with everything." "Got it," Emma said, trying to sound confident. Approaching his table, she held her notepad tight, her palms clammy. "Mr. O'Neill, is everything okay? Can I get you anything else?" Big Shack looked up and smiled. "Actually, yeah. Do you have a moment?" Emma blinked, caught off guard. "Of course." "Pull up a chair," he said, gesturing to the empty seat across from him. She hesitated, unsure if this was breaking some kind of rule. Her manager gave a frantic thumbs up from across the room, clearly starstruck and eager to please the celebrity guest. Emma sat down, feeling every eye in the diner on her. Big Shack leaned forward, his expression kind but curious. "You seem like someone who works hard. How long have you been here?" "About 2 years," Emma said quietly. 2 years, huh? And working a double tonight?" She nodded, her cheeks flushing. "Yeah, but it's no big deal. Just trying to keep up, you know." His brow furrowed slightly. "That's not easy. Taking care of family, too?" Emma's eyes widened. "How did you—" She stopped, realizing he must have overheard the gossip. "I hear things," he said gently. "You holding up okay?" The unexpected question made her throat tighten. She forced a smile, unwilling to show cracks in her armor. "I'm fine. Just trying to get through the day." Big Shaq studied her for a moment, then nodded. "You're strong, Emma. Not everyone can do what you're doing." She didn't know how to respond, so she stood up quickly. "I should get back to work. Let me know if you need anything else." As she walked away, her heart raced. She wasn't used to people noticing her struggles, let alone someone like him. It made her feel exposed, but there was also something oddly comforting about his words. When the rush died down, Emma found herself cleaning tables while the last few customers lingered. Big Shaq was still at his table, writing something on the back of his receipt. He folded it neatly and placed it under the empty glass. As she approached, he stood up, towering over her. "Thanks for the great service, Emma. Take care of yourself, all right?" She nodded. Her voice caught in her throat. "Thank you. Have a good night." He gave her a small smile and walked out, ducking slightly to avoid hitting the doorframe. The diner fell silent for a moment as everyone watched him leave. Emma picked up the check and the folded note, her hand trembling as she opened it. Inside was a message that stopped her in her tracks. "You're incredible. Keep being strong for your family. Check your tip. You deserve it." Her eyes drifted to the receipt and her breath caught. He had left a tip of $10,000. Her legs felt weak, and she grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. Tears welled up in her eyes and she quickly wiped them away, not wanting to draw attention. But the overwhelming mix of gratitude, disbelief, and relief made it impossible to stop them. In that moment, Emma realized that someone had truly seen her, not just her exhaustion or her polite smiles, but the weight she carried every day. Emma stared at the receipt in her hand, the numbers blurring as tears filled her eyes. She read the note again, her heart pounding in her chest. For a moment, she couldn't move. The weight of everything, her exhaustion, her worries about her family, her struggle to stay afloat, felt like it had been lifted, even if just a little. Her manager noticed her standing frozen by the table. "Emma, are you all right?" She turned to him, her voice shaky. He left this." She handed over the receipt, unsure if he would even believe her. Her manager's jaw dropped. $10,000? He said, loud enough for a couple of nearby customers to hear. They turned, curious, and one of them gasped when they saw the tip amount. The whispers started immediately, but Emma didn't care. For the first time in a long time, she felt something other than dread. She felt hope. When Emma got home that night, she found her little brother Lucas sitting at the kitchen table working on his homework. Their mother was resting on the couch, her breathing shallow but steady. "Hey, Lucas," Emma said, ruffling his hair as she walked by. "You doing all right?" "Yeah," he said, not looking up. "How was work?" Emma paused. She wasn't sure how to explain what had happened. "It was, good. Busy." She checked her phone and saw a voicemail from an unknown number. Pressing play, she listened as a warm, professional voice spoke. "Hi, Emma. This is Megan from the Shaquille O'Neal Foundation. Mr. O'Neal shared your story with us and we'd like to help. Please give us a call back when you have a moment." Emma's hand flew to her mouth. Was this real? She played the message again, just to be sure. "Lucas," she said, her voice trembling, "something amazing just happened." The next morning, Emma called the foundation. The person on the other end was kind and understanding, asking about her family's situation and how they could help. By the end of the call, Emma learned that the foundation was offering to cover her mother's medical bills and provide a scholarship fund for Lucas's education. Emma hung up, tears streaming down her face. She felt overwhelmed by gratitude. At work that evening, the diner was buzzing with excitement. The news of Big Shaq's generous tip had spread quickly, and customers were coming in just to talk about it. Emma tried to keep her head down, but a few regulars stopped to congratulate her. "You deserve it, Emma," one elderly customer said, patting her hand. "You've worked so hard for your family. It's about time someone noticed." Despite the attention, Emma's thoughts kept returning to Big Shaq's note. Keep being strong for your family. It wasn't just the money that had moved her, it was the recognition of everything she had been through. A week later, Emma was wiping down a table when the bell above the door jingled. She glanced up and her heart skipped a beat. Big Shaq was back. This time, he wasn't alone. He was accompanied by a few people who introduced themselves as part of his foundation. "Hey, Emma," Big Shaq said, his smile warm and genuine. "How's everything going?" Emma felt a lump in her throat. I don't even know how to thank you. You've changed our lives." "You don't need to thank me," he said, waving it off. "Just keep doing what you're doing. You're stronger than you think." One of the foundation members stepped forward with a folder. "We've set everything up for your mom's treatments and Lucas's education fund. We'll be in touch to make sure everything goes smoothly." Emma's knees felt weak. She leaned against the counter for support, overwhelmed once again. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say you'll keep going," Big Shaq said with a grin. "That's all we want." The next few weeks felt like a dream. Her mother's health improved with the proper care, and Lucas began talking excitedly about college, something Emma had never thought would be possible. At work, Emma noticed a change in herself. She smiled more easily, laughed with her coworkers, and even started planning for her own future. For the first time, she felt like she could breathe. One evening, after her shift ended, Emma sat down to write a letter to Big Shaq. "Dear Mr. O'Neill, I don't even know where to begin. What you did for me and my family is more than I could have ever imagined. You didn't just help us financially, you gave us hope. For so long I felt invisible, like no one cared about the struggles we were going through. But you saw us. You reminded me that there are good people in the world who want to help. Because of you, my mom is getting the care she needs, and my brother has a future to look forward to. And because of you, I've started to believe in myself again. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I'll never forget your kindness. Sincerely, Emma." A year later, Emma found herself in a new role, managing a small cafe she had always dreamed of opening. The walls were decorated with photos of her family and notes of encouragement from customers she had helped along the way. One day, a young woman walked in, looking tired and defeated. Emma greeted her warmly and offered her a free meal, sensing that she was in need. As the woman sat down, Emma remembered Big Shaq's words. "You're stronger than you think." Smiling to herself, Emma realized that she wasn't just paying it forward. She was honoring the kindness that had changed her life forever. Months passed, and Emma's life continued to transform. Her mother's health improved steadily, Lucas excelled in school, and Emma herself began pursuing evening classes in business management. The burden she had carried for years was finally lifting, replaced by a sense of purpose and gratitude. Word of Big Shaq's generosity spread far and wide, and Emma became a quiet symbol of how one act of kindness could change a life. Customers at the diner often asked about her story, and she always smiled, keeping the note Big Shaq had written tucked safely in her pocket as a reminder of that pivotal moment. One sunny afternoon, Emma attended a charity event hosted by the Shaquille O'Neal Foundation. The room was buzzing with energy, filled with people whose lives had also been touched by the foundation's work. As Emma stood at the refreshment table, she turned to find Big Shaq himself standing beside her, holding a plate of appetizers. "Emma," he said, his grin as wide as ever, "how's my favorite waitress doing?" She laughed, a genuine, light-hearted sound she hadn't heard from herself in years. "Better than I could have imagined. Thank you for everything." Big Shaq shook his head. "Don't thank me. You did the hard part. You kept going when it felt impossible." They chatted for a few moments before parting ways, but Emma left the event feeling more inspired than ever. She realized her life's path wasn't just about surviving anymore, it was about making a difference. In the years that followed, Emma turned her cafe into more than just a business. She made it a haven for people in need, offering free meals to struggling families and holding community events to support local causes. A small plaque hung by the entrance inscribed with Big Shaq's words, "You're stronger than you think." Big Shaq remained a quiet supporter, occasionally stopping by unannounced, bringing laughter and encouragement wherever he went. Their bond wasn't just about a single moment, it was about the ripple effect of compassion. Emma often thought back to that rainy night in the diner when everything changed. One extraordinary act of kindness had not only saved her family, but had also given her the strength to help others in turn. And somewhere, someone else was being inspired by Emma's story, ready to carry that same ripple of kindness forward. Kindness has the power to change lives. Never underestimate what even a small gesture can do. If this story inspired you, take a moment to reflect on how you can make a difference, and don't forget to share this message of hope with others. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Let's spread the ripple of kindness together.